Welcome back to Farmyard Care, where we explore the heart of homesteading, backyard farming, gardening, and raising animals in a way that works with nature instead of against it. If you keep chickens, you have probably stood in your kitchen with a bowl of vegetable trimmings, fruit peels, or a few bread crusts and thought, why waste this when my hens would enjoy it? And honestly, that feeling makes perfect sense. On a small farm or homestead, there is something deeply satisfying about that natural cycle. We grow food, we prepare it, we eat what we need, and the leftovers can sometimes go back to the animals that give us eggs, manure for compost, and life for the garden. It feels simple, practical, and almost perfectly waste-free. But here is where every chicken keeper needs to pause for a moment. Not every kitchen scrap is safe. Some foods that look harmless to us can quietly cause serious problems for a flock. A handful of the wrong potato peels, a piece of avocado, or spoiled leftovers can put the birds you have worked so hard to raise at real risk. Today, we are going to look closely at what chickens can eat, what they should only have in small amounts, and what should never go into the run. We will talk about how a chicken's digestive system works, why certain everyday foods contain natural toxins, and why in some parts of the world, feeding kitchen scraps to poultry can even break biosecurity laws. By the end, you will not just be tossing leftovers to your flock and hoping for the best. You will understand how to feed treats safely, protect your birds, and make better decisions for the health of your whole homestead. So grab your coffee, make sure you are subscribed to Farmyard Care, and let's get into this practical guide on what kitchen scraps your chickens can and cannot eat. Section 1. The 10% moderation rule and the foundation of diet. Let's begin with one of the most important questions every chicken keeper should understand. If chickens are natural foragers and omnivores, why can't they simply live on kitchen scraps, garden leftovers, and whatever insects they find in the yard? The answer starts with how much the modern laying hen has changed. A few hundred years ago, a wild hen might have produced around 100 eggs in an entire year. Today, through selective breeding, many backyard laying hens can produce well over 300 eggs a year. That is a huge demand on the body. A hen that lays this often needs more than random leftovers. She needs a carefully balanced diet with about 16% to 18% protein, enough calcium for strong eggshells, and the right mix of vitamins, minerals, and amino acids to support feather growth, muscle health, and steady egg production. That is why a good quality commercial layer feed must always be the foundation of the flock's diet. Here is the rule I always recommend remembering. Kitchen scraps and treats should make up no more than 10% of what your chickens eat in a day. The other 90% should come from their complete, balanced feed. Why does this matter so much? Because chickens only have so much space in their crop. If a hen fills up on bulky, low-protein foods like leftover pasta, white bread, or too many starchy scraps, she may not eat enough of the feed that actually gives her the nutrients she needs. Over time, this can dilute her nutrition, weaken feather condition, reduce egg production, and create health problems that many keepers do not notice until the flock is already struggling. So think of kitchen scraps as a treat, not a replacement meal. They can add variety, enrichment, and enjoyment, but they should never take the place of proper layer feed. Section 2. The green light, safe, hydrating, and nutritious scraps. Now let's talk about the good scraps, the safe and useful ones that can make your chickens come running with excitement. A great place to start is dark leafy greens. Kale, spinach, Swiss chard, and dandelion greens can be excellent additions for a flock when offered in moderation. These greens contain valuable nutrients like vitamins A, C, and K, along with minerals such as iron and magnesium. They help support general health, and they can also contribute to those deep, rich orange egg yolks that many backyard keepers love to see. During hot summer weather, watery fruits can be especially helpful. Watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, and cucumbers are all refreshing treats that provide extra moisture when the heat is hard on the birds. A chilled half of watermelon on a scorching day can keep a flock busy and help them cool down while they peck away at the sweet flesh right down to the rind. Berries such as strawberries and blueberries are also good occasional treats, offering natural antioxidants in small, manageable portions. Proteins and grains can also have their place, but preparation matters. Small pieces of cooked beef, cooked poultry, or cooked fish can provide useful amino acids, especially when birds are going through the fall molt and need extra support for feather regrowth. Fully cooked grains such as rice, oatmeal, and quinoa are also safe options and can provide easy-to-digest energy, especially during colder months. But pay close attention to the word cooked. Raw grains, and especially raw beans, are not something to casually toss into the run. Some foods are only safe after proper cooking, and we will get into those risks shortly. Section 3. The Danger Zone. Nightshades and Avocados. This is where every chicken keeper needs to be more careful. Nature provides many wonderful foods, but some plants also carry their own natural defenses. Foods that may seem perfectly healthy in our kitchen can contain compounds that are dangerous or even deadly for chickens. Let's start with avocados. While people may enjoy avocado on toast or in guacamole, parts of the avocado plant contain a toxic compound called persin. The highest risk is found in the skin, pit, leaves, and bark. If chickens eat these parts, persin can damage the heart muscle and may lead to breathing trouble, irregular heartbeat, weakness, and in severe cases, death within a short time. For that reason, avocado is one of those foods I would simply keep away from the flock. Next, we need to talk about the nightshade family, also known as Solanaceae. This group includes potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers. These plants can produce a toxic glycoalkaloid called solanine. In chickens, solanine can interfere with the nervous system and irritate or damage the digestive tract. The dangerous parts are usually the green areas and growing parts of the plant. Green potato skins, sprouting potatoes, potato leaves, tomato leaves, pepper leaves, and similar plant foliage should never be fed to chickens. These are the parts where the toxin can be concentrated. That does not mean every nightshade food is automatically unsafe. Fully cooked potato flesh, with no green skin or sprouts, can be safe in small amounts. Ripe red tomatoes are also generally safe as an occasional treat. But raw potato peels, green potatoes, sprouts, and the leaves or stems of nightshade plants should stay out of the coop. And here is a useful distinction. Sweet potatoes are not part of the nightshade family. They do not contain solanine like regular potatoes do, so properly prepared sweet potatoes are considered a much safer option for chickens. Section 4. The silent killers. Toxins hidden in everyday human food. Now, let's move into a part that every chicken keeper needs to take seriously, because the hidden dangers in the kitchen do not end with avocados and green potatoes. Think about some of the most common items in a normal morning routine: coffee, tea, and chocolate. To us, they seem harmless, but for chickens, they can be extremely dangerous. These foods contain methylxanthines, especially caffeine and theobromine. In a chicken's fast-moving system, these compounds can overstimulate the nervous system and place heavy stress on the heart. Even a small amount of dark chocolate or used coffee grounds tossed into the run can cause severe restlessness, tremors, seizures, or sudden heart failure. Then we have onions and garlic. A tiny amount of garlic is sometimes discussed among poultry keepers for possible immune support, but the allium family must still be treated with caution. Onions, garlic, and related plants contain organosulfoxides. When chickens eat too much of them, these compounds can damage the membranes of red blood cells, causing the cells to deform and break apart. This condition, known as Heinz body hemolytic anemia, reduces the bird's ability to carry oxygen through the body and can become very serious. Another hidden danger comes from fruit seeds and pits. Apple seeds and the pits of peaches, cherries, plums, and similar stone fruits contain amygdalin, a compound that can release cyanide when crushed. A chicken's gizzard is strong enough to grind these seeds and pits, and once that happens, toxic hydrogen cyanide can enter the system. In severe cases, it can stop normal cellular respiration and cause rapid death. That is why apples should be cored, and stone fruits should always have the pits removed before they are offered to the flock. Finally, never feed raw or undercooked beans. Raw kidney beans are especially risky because they contain phytohemagglutinin, or PHA, a toxic lectin that can bind to the intestines and cause serious digestive damage, including hemorrhagic gastroenteritis. Beans must be thoroughly boiled at high heat before they can be considered safe. Section 5. The invisible enemy: mold, mycotoxins, and crop disasters. Sometimes the problem is not the food itself, but what has started growing on it. When we are trying to reduce waste, it can be tempting to throw stale bread, damp feed, or slightly moldy leftovers to the chickens. But this is one of those moments where good intentions can create real danger. Molds such as Aspergillus, Penicillium, and Fusarium can produce invisible toxins called mycotoxins. These toxins are tough, persistent, and they do not simply disappear because the food is heated or cooked. One of the most dangerous groups is aflatoxins, produced by Aspergillus molds. These can severely damage a chicken's liver, weaken the immune system, reduce egg production, and in serious cases lead to liver tissue death. A simple rule has served farmers well for years: if in doubt, throw it out. If food smells rancid, looks spoiled, feels slimy, or shows visible mold, it should go in the trash, not into the chicken run. Beyond toxins, there are also mechanical dangers inside the bird's digestive system. A chicken's crop is a muscular pouch at the base of the neck where food is stored before moving further into digestion. Long strings through scraps of celery stalks, onion skins, or tough grass clippings can twist and mat together inside the crop. If that mass cannot move through, it can create a dangerous blockage known as impacted crop. Sticky processed foods can create another problem. Large amounts of white bread, raw yeast dough, or heavy starches can turn into a thick, glue-like paste in the crop. Inside that warm, moist environment, sugars can ferment and yeast can overgrow, leading to a painful, sour-smelling condition known as sour crop. To reduce these risks, chop fibrous vegetables into smaller pieces, avoid stringy scraps in large amounts, and keep processed human carbohydrates very limited. Section 6. The Global Stage, Biosecurity, and the Law. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture, because feeding kitchen scraps is not only a backyard decision. In many parts of the world, giving certain food waste to chickens is not just discouraged. It can be illegal. This is where homesteading meets biosecurity. In places such as the United Kingdom, the European Union, and Australia, laws strictly restrict or prohibit feeding swill or catering waste to livestock, including backyard poultry. Swill can include food scraps that contain meat, dairy, mammalian byproducts, or even plant-based food that has touched the same cutting board, plate, bin, or container as meat products. The reason is disease prevention. Household food waste can carry dangerous viral pathogens that may survive curing, freezing, or ordinary cooking. Diseases such as foot and mouth disease, African swine fever, and Newcastle disease can spread quickly and cause devastating losses across farms and entire agricultural systems. The 2001 foot and mouth disease outbreak in the United Kingdom, linked to illegally fed catering waste, cost the economy more than £8 billion. In regulated regions, the safe approach is very strict. Vegetables or fruits given to chickens should come directly from the garden to the coop without passing through a household kitchen where cross-contamination may occur. By contrast, some countries in East Asia have developed controlled recycling systems where food waste is heat-treated at industrial temperatures and turned into regulated animal feed, often called eco-feed. This reminds us of something important. Even a small backyard flock is connected to a much larger agricultural system. What we toss into the run may seem like a simple choice, but responsible feeding protects not only our own chickens, but also the farms, animals, and food systems around us. Section 7. The Art of Feeding, Enrichment, and Best Practices. So once we know which scraps are safe, the next question is how to feed them in a way that is responsible, clean, and suitable for your area's rules. First, timing matters. I always recommend offering kitchen scraps later in the afternoon, not first thing in the morning. Your hens need to start the day by filling their crops with their main layer feed, because that feed contains the protein, calcium, vitamins, and minerals they depend on for egg production and strong shells. If they begin the day with treats, they may skip too much of the nutrition they actually need. Second, do not throw wet scraps directly onto the coop floor. When soft food lands on dirt, droppings, and damp bedding, it can quickly turn into a breeding ground for bacteria, parasites, and foul smells. A much better method is to use a clean, non-porous tray, such as stainless steel. It is easier to wash, easier to sanitize, and most importantly, you can remove it before nightfall. Any leftover food sitting in the coop overnight is an invitation for rats, mice, raccoons, and other unwanted visitors. Third, use scraps as enrichment, not just as food. Chickens are curious, active foragers, and they do best when they have something to peck, scratch, and investigate. Instead of simply cutting up a cabbage and tossing it down, you can hang a whole cabbage or a bunch of leafy greens slightly above their heads. The birds have to stretch, jump, and work for it. This keeps them busy, burns energy, reduces boredom, and can help lower problem behaviors like feather pecking. And one more important point, always make sure your flock has access to insoluble granite grit. Chickens do not have teeth. They rely on small stones stored in the gizzard to grind tougher plant fibers and help process the vegetables and treats they eat. Without grit, even good scraps can become harder for them to digest properly. Section 8. The Rescue. Recognizing symptoms and emergency first aid, but what happens if something goes wrong? Maybe a neighbor means well and tosses chocolate into the run, or a hen gets into a toxic plant before you notice. As a responsible keeper, you need to recognize trouble early and act quickly. The first defense is observation. Watch for sudden lethargy, a bird separating from the flock, severe diarrhea, panting, drooping wings, weakness, tremors, or paralysis. If you suspect poisoning, time matters. Waiting too long can make the situation much harder to reverse. One useful emergency tool often kept in poultry first aid kits is activated charcoal. Activated charcoal works like a tiny sponge in the digestive tract. When mixed with water into a slurry and given orally, at about 2,000 to 8,000 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, it can help bind certain organic toxins, plant poisons, and mycotoxins in the gut before they enter the bloodstream. It is most useful when given quickly, ideally within the first hour after the bird eats something toxic. Another method sometimes used to move toxins through the system is an osmotic laxative flush. For one adult bird, a common flush is made with 1 teaspoon of Epsom salts dissolved in half a cup of warm water, carefully given by syringe. This draws water into the intestines and helps move material out faster. For a flock-wide flush, 1 pint of molasses mixed into 5 gallons of drinking water for no more than 8 hours is sometimes used. Flushes should never be used on baby chicks. If the problem is not poisoning, but a mechanical blockage, such as impacted crop, the crop may feel hard and full like a golf ball in the morning. In that case, do not turn the chicken upside down and try to make her vomit. Chickens do not have the same protection in the throat that humans do, and forcing fluid back up can cause the bird to inhale it and suffocate. A safer approach is to offer small, solid pieces of chilled coconut oil. The oil melts at body temperature and can help lubricate the mass. Then, from the outside, gently massage the crop downward to help break up the fibrous blockage and encourage it to move through the digestive tract. Conclusion: raising backyard chickens is about much more than collecting fresh eggs in the morning. It is a daily responsibility. It means learning the habits of your flock, understanding how their bodies work, and making careful choices that protect their health over the long term. When you understand the 10% rule, keep dangerous foods like avocado, green nightshade parts, caffeine, chocolate, and moldy scraps out of the run, and respect the biosecurity laws where you live, you are doing more than feeding chickens. You are building a safer, cleaner, healthier backyard system. Now you have the knowledge to offer treats with confidence. Avoid the silent dangers hiding in ordinary kitchen scraps, and use safe foods to enrich your flock's daily life. If this guide helped you see poultry feeding in a clearer way, share it with another chicken keeper who might need it. And be sure to subscribe to Farmyard Care for more practical, science-backed, experience-based guidance for healthier animals and a stronger homestead. Until next time, keep your gardens growing, your flock healthy, and your farm life moving in the right direction.